Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning for the first of our, I'm not sure what we're calling them just yet, but our uh, meetings regarding the reorganization of areas within the college and then eventually the college at large. Today, and kudos to you, Terrence. Terrence has opted to go first. These meetings will be held by division. So in other words, we won't hit you with everyone all at the same time. Every session will be specifically about a particular area. We are not going to do an open Q&A on this. The reason being is that we have a form that we want people to complete. And I am on mute. You didn't hear a word I said. We want we want you to process what you've heard in these meetings and use the form to provide feedback. So again, this is the first in a series of presentations. The format is similar to our budget presentations, but not as rushed. So these are spread out over time. And the reason they're not as compact is because with our budget process, it wasn't our timeline and we had to hurry up and get that done. But with this, it requires a lot of care and thought, and we have time. We are on our own timeline. And so you'll find that the links that are shared, the link that is shared for each meeting will be open for 2 weeks. So that gives you time to process, review, and provide feedback to the individual unit in question. In April, I want to say April, yes. In April, we will have a wrap-up meeting, if you will, to talk about all of the feedback that has been received and give you an overview of what is being proposed based on the feedback and of course budget for our college structure. Now keep in mind that this does not mean that this is the final, because there are other wheels in motion district wide or other things in motion that will tweak this structure. But because of our budget and staff changes and so on, we have to fill the gaps now. We cannot operate with these gaps for months on end. We have to get through CTC Link. So you'll notice in the schedule, there's also a break for that. So because we want you to focus on the CTC Link implementation and not have to manage all of this. So again, we have time on this, and I encourage you to complete the form. While I was on mute, I was saying that we will not have a Q&A as part of this presentation because we want you to process the information and click on the link and give us your feedback. For individuals who don't have access to the link or recordings and that kind of thing, some of the maintenance and facility folks and some of our remote folks, we are going to make sure that you have a paper version that you can complete. And we're making every effort to accommodate you if you are not here, or if they're not here, to accommodate you watching the presentation. So again, just recognize that we're not going to have a Q&A in here because we want you to process the information that's being shared. And again, this week is administrative operations. Terrence has opted to go first. Terrence, we're very appreciative. And with that, Terrence, I will turn it over to you.
I don't know about opted. I don't know about opted. I think I drew the short straw.
He was not voluntold. We'll put it that way.
As Dr. Crawford said, this is really going to be about a proposed reorganization, and we are in some ways operating in similar ways, but nothing has been finalized yet. We just have to get through the interim arrangements. So I want to begin with the land acknowledgement. On behalf of North Seattle College, we acknowledge that we occupy the traditional ancestral lands of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Duwamish tribe, a people that are still here, continuing to honor and bring light to their ancient heritage. Without them, we would not have access to this gathering, dialogue, and learning space. We ask that we take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land who are still here. Now, I just want to share something with all of you, which is that we are hoping to strengthen our connection with the Native American community. And this month, we will be going to the Board of Trustees with a proposal to work with a affordable housing developer who's going to focus their development on Native Americans. And part of that program, the development of that program, is a longhouse that we may be able to share, or that we will intend to share. So that is something the Board of Trustees, of course, has to approve, but it is something which speaks to this connection that we have with the land and with our the Duwamish tribe and the Coast Salish peoples. So just wanted to share that with this opportunity. So a few things to remember before we get to start this presentation. It's really to solicit feedback and collect ideas using the feedback form that's in your meeting invitation that Tony sent out. What I'm showing here, it's a proposal. The nature of proposals is they evolve and they change. So this is the direction we're going in now, but we're looking for your feedback. Things may change at the district, things may evolve, but this is where we are thinking in this moment. And clearly the organizational structures can have an effect on the collective bargaining agreements. And so before any of these proposed changes would become effective, we will engage the unions as appropriate. So with that in mind, just want to talk to you just a moment about the philosophy with which we went through this reorganization process or proposal. And here's why we're here, right? It's these students, many of them are older, I admit. It's these students, and these are the folks we serve. And their experience it's in the classroom. It is, being advised. It's all of those things. And administrative services, we're a support organization. We hopefully facilitate your activities in terms of getting paid, being able to make certain purchases, that type of thing, and just kind of keeping the books. Just as importantly, perhaps more importantly in some ways, we're responsible for the learning environment, the physical learning environment. Our students in a good learning space that makes them feel energized, empowered, respected, and able to focus on their studies. And do they feel safe? Do they feel secure? These are the things administrative services is responsible for. And at the same time, we realize and recognize that while we would like to deliver service at the absolute, 5-star level, we can't structure ourselves and so on at a 5-star level and to the detriment of the faculty who directly have interaction with the students, the advisors who directly have interaction with the students. We are not the front line, we're the support. So our philosophy here has been to try to be as lean as we can and still be responsible. And so this organization reflects that. With that type of leanness, there's some risk. Can we really pull it off? And when people leave and we have turnover, how well do we sustain what we're looking to sustain? We believe we can do it, but I just want to sort of foreground that this organization is in fact, quite lean given the way the district is structured. Could be done a little differently if district decisions are different, but it is what it is right now. So this is the proposed overall structure reporting up to the president ultimately, but to the vice president of administrative services. And for those of you who are familiar with administrative services organization, it's pretty straightforward. The directors report up to the vice president. And the things that may be a little different or proposed from the past, although this has been done in different ways in different years, is first of all that the capital projects manager reports to the vice president of administrative services. And that's because while capital projects and facilities have to work hand in glove, at the same time, there's sort of a different time horizon and there's a different perspective, shall we say, on how all things get financed and funded. And so it's very helpful to have that direct reporting relationship with the vice president of capital projects to the vice president. The other shift here is on the far right, you see transportation coordinator, which under sort of our historical structure has reported up to the director of safety and security. So that position, our transportation coordination is intimately tied into the commute trip reduction plans, our work with the city of Seattle, emergency preparedness. So it is community connected, and it's really important, I believe, to have that vice presidential direct connection, because there's a sort of a larger scope in one dimension of that job. So that's a change. And then the other proposed change is the vice president of administrative services historically has had an executive assistant dedicated to that position. Here in this scenario, there would be an executive assistant pool reporting to the president, but where the vice president and all vice presidents could then ask or request work from the pool, sort of streamlining things and be more efficient and having fewer silos, as it were. So that is the sort of the top level reporting structure in the proposed changes. Now, looking at the biggest single component of administrative services from a staffing perspective is facilities here. So for those of you who are familiar with facilities, as it has been, the two boxes on the left reporting up to the director of facilities will be familiar to you, which is essentially there's oversight over the maintenance staff and grounds, and then there's oversight over the custodial staff. Those are sort of the three units within. What's new on this diagram is on the far right, an events coordinator position, which is historically reported up to the vice president, is now reporting to the director of facilities position in this proposed structure. And the reason for that is from a communication and a synergies perspective, really facilities and events really have to work hand in glove. And so this creates that direct relationship rather than kind of running through the vice president and everything. So that's the reason for that proposed change. We have reduced the staffing levels in this department as part of the meeting the budget needs so we can get to a sustainable place as an organization overall. And the essential nature of the change has been, in the past, we had two things going on. One is we had more specialized positions, specialized skill positions. And now we've eliminated some of those, and we're going to sort of more generalist type roles at the staffing level. The other thing is we had a sort of what I'll call a layer of middle management or middle supervision in the form of two positions. And this layer is now gone. So you've got custodial services reporting directly up to the administrative services manager B position, and a manager, and I put that in quotes because it could be, we're looking at a classified position. We need to kind of do job analysis and everything if this general concept flies. And we'd have both grounds and maintenance staff reporting up there. So in terms of translating this into workload and everything, I talked earlier about this being a very lean structure. Some of you may remember that we were already pretty darn lean to begin with in facilities in terms of number of square feet covered and everything. and that we're developing some strategies so that we're not, some work that has been done in the past or is assumed in the past is not going to be done anymore because we simply don't have the capacity to do it anymore. So this slide here gives you a sense of where we are going to end up in terms of workloads expressed in square feet per full-time non-grounds FTE. So we have north, we have about 750,000 square feet and 30 full-time facilities FTE, in total when you count absolutely everybody. There's a comparable local institution I've been looking at. It's a little smaller. It's about 625,000 square feet, but it's as close as I could get. And they have 32. So my understanding is they're also looking at reducing their staff size, but as of this moment, you can see that our folks will be covering more square feet in their work. So a lean structure and just something to be aware of. And I just want to say that in order for this to work, your role as helping be part of making the adjustments in terms of, we're not going to be going into your individual offices and taking out the garbage, as it were. We're going to expect, there'll be some self-service that you'll be doing and that type of thing. And there will be less frequent vacuuming and so on in individual office spaces. So that's just something to keep in mind, that this is how you're supporting us being able to do this. And I think we all appreciate that. So I'm saying that in advance for when everyone comes back to campus. So with regard to the business office, this is the proposed structure, and there are 2 fewer positions in this structure than in the historic structure. But structurally, it's basically the same, that there's a business office director overseeing, a staff with one of whom has a reporting relationship where they're supervising. So it's a very small staff, and you can get a sense of that with this. Once again, same comparable institution. If you think of workload in the business office as being the amount of how many dollars each employee, full-time employee, is responsible for processing, you can see here that when we compare to that other institution, our folks are processing about $8.5 million each, whereas the comparable one is about $4.7 million. So it's a pretty big difference. Again, that institution is looking at some reductions. But again, the point here is we're operating very leanly. Now, safety and security, the proposed structure, here it is. It's structurally no different than ever before. There are 5 campus safety officers reporting up to the Director of Safety and Security, who reports up to the Vice President. That structure, there's not really a firm rule of thumb for how you value, or not value, how you assess the workload, as it were, of security staff. So I've used square feet, again, with that comparable institution. And you can see that we have, our folks cover more square feet. They have to make bigger rounds, as it were, more rounds per. The real translation is we have thinner coverage. We don't have as many people doubled up on shift as this other institution does. We still think it's safe and secure, but we're more vulnerable, as it were, to people getting ill, vacancies, et cetera, et cetera. There's going to need to be more juggling in order to keep everything safe and secure and running smoothly. So it's going to be hard, frankly, this structure to run. In some ways, I think it may be easier because fewer folks in the mix are easier to coordinate and manage, but it's going to be hard, but it's not impossible. And I just want to say that with the team we have, I'm confident we'll make it. I mean, everybody is doing a fantastic job, I think, in terms of adapting to all these changes. They're being creative in the way they're thinking about how can we keep serving the core. what can we do to make sure that the student experience remains a good experience? And indeed, we're hoping to make it a better experience. Some things we're going to be doing during the break, when I say the break, I don't mean the break, during this COVID time when we have the opportunity to freshen up spaces without having to work around all the students and everything, and all of you, frankly. We're going to be doing some repainting. We're going to be trying to do some replacement of carpets in public areas, that type of thing, so that when everyone comes back to campus, it's going to be a better learning environment. And so the team is working on that and doing that. The team is working towards more of a preventative maintenance philosophy, which means being proactive. And in the near term, it's a lot more, it's a lot of behavioral change, but in the long term, it will reduce our workload and keep things running more smoothly. I think I can't say enough about how the business office staff has been taking on what's frankly a really challenging situation with the staffing level we have and the CTC Link implementation. So that is pretty much an overview of the proposed reorganization for administrative services. And I'm really looking forward to getting your feedback on this form. Everything will be collected so we can see everybody's feedback together. And then as we get your critiques, ideas, suggestions, we'll just take it on and figure out what makes sense to move forward. We may end up re-engaging you, so to speak, where you say, oh, this concern was brought up. Here are a few different ways we might be able to handle it. What do you think? Don't know, because I don't know what your responses are yet, but that is the mechanism by which we take that first round of feedback. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Dr. Crawford.
So again, thank you, Terrence. Very comprehensive presentation. The link to the administrative services form is in the chat. Please, please, please take a moment. We try to keep it as simple as possible to provide us with your feedback and your ideas. We know that all of us have a different view of these services. We're going to be learning some things about our structure and all that is entailed to keep this college running. And we need to hear from you. There are some really great ideas out there, and we may not have thought of everything. And so we really want to hear from you. Now, John said that the link didn't work, Tony. So Tony S. will be working on that. Terrence, you may want to share. Did you share the link on your slide as well? Okay, it is in the chat. And it was also a part of the invitation. Now keep in mind that future presentations, which will happen about every 2 weeks, will not be this short. Terrence's area is very lean already. You can imagine that the instructional presentation will probably take the whole hour. Student services will probably take the whole hour as well, and EDI. So please be prepared in the future if you intend to stay the whole time. And again, to provide us with feedback and your ideas for how we can be more efficient and effective in this environment. It is being recorded, and Tony S. will send out the link as always if you want to revisit this presentation or share it with your colleagues. It looks like the link is now working, so feel free to provide the feedback. And again, thank you. It looks like we're giving you back about 30 minutes of your time. Thank you for attending the presentation. As I said, we're not answering questions per se in this meeting because we want you to process the information that's been shared and provide us with feedback on the form. So thank you all so much for attending, and have a wonderful rest of the day.